Welcome back to In the Real. I'm your host, Eric, as always. May the 4th be with you. And if I remember right, tomorrow is May the 6th. I don't know. I could be wrong. At any rate, way to go, George. Excellent set of movies. My personal opinion about them, I like them all. I've been liking all of the little spin-offs too, the shows and whatnot. Rogue One, I didn't really get into. I've only seen it once. It had some good explanations in it, and it was a good bridge. I didn't dislike it. I'm not sure what to think about it. But that being said, nothing negative about any of them. I understand George didn't necessarily make all of them, but my thoughts are, as it pertains to the story, it started somewhere, and it started with George. And everything that has been done since he's done what he's done is just an additive to the story. If one could sit down and argue about where the story has been taken and what's been, I guess, turned into a movie or a TV show, these are people's ideas. This is it's a story. It's fiction. If you wanted it a different way, go write your own movies and have them go your way. Leave them alone. There's nothing here to take serious or be upset about. So that's my thoughts on it. At any rate, I wanted to chat today about a few other things besides Star Wars. I'm really holding back from clicking the purchase button on some more lightsabers I don't need. But I would like to talk about some other fun stuff that I've done surrounding a little bit of the Star Wars stuff. Went to Disney World for the first time in my life ever. Just about a week or so ago. It was mid-April, mid to the end of April, somewhere around there. Went 8 days. Had a couple days off in the middle. Went to the Kennedy Space Center again. I won't touch on that all that much. That was the second time I've been there. I would say the new stuff that I was able to experience or that wasn't there the first time, cool. The other stuff, just as cool, just wasn't as exciting because I've seen it before. But what I was really, I guess, impressed about last time didn't exist this time. But and that's just the docents not walking around, and we'll just leave it at that. If you've never been there, you have to go there. It's an entire day thing because there's so much there to learn about and do. And even if you're not into the space thing, if you take some time and just start learning about the things that are there, it's impressive to understand what has been done and where things have been going. So, yeah, enough of that. Disney World, as I mentioned, never been there before. It kind of flew up on me to go because my boss was like, "Hey, you never take PTO. You're going to miss out on some, so you might want to think about taking some days off." I was like, "Oh, geez." And I ended up finding a really good deal. I'll talk about the deal that I got in some detail as well, just in case people are curious about going or maybe trying to save some money in going. And then I'm going to talk about my experience visiting Disney World. So, take you back to 2020 before everything started closing down. Almost went then and decided, well, let's just see where things are going. They're talking about closing things, and the week I was going to pick to go, they closed Disney World. So luckily I didn't go then. And back then when I was looking at booking stuff, it was going to the parks for, I think, about 5 days. 5 or 6 days, I'm not really sure. But I was staying in a Disney property. So they call that the Disney bubble. So I would have stayed at a Disney resort, got the tickets through there, and before getting airfare there, That alone, before taxes, fees, and checking out and all the other junk, was like $4,300. It was 42 something. And if you imagine, that's before you go spending money on things you're going to have in the park. That's before your food, rental car if you want one. And you stay on the Disney properties, you don't typically need them to get to the parks. But if you want to go somewhere else, you're going to need transportation. Yeah, Ubers, work, taxis, all that fun stuff. So you have to consider those costs in your trip. And then, of course, there is the airfare, baggage costs and things like that, if that applies. So there are some more costs to that. I'd say just to stay in the middle, you figure round trip airfare for typical is about $1,000. I guess I'm kind of basing all this on a 2-person deal. So, $500 a person there for your airfare. So now you're talking 43, now almost 48. Now it's $4,800. And if you count on food for a week, you're over $5,000 guaranteed. If you buy some trinkets and stuff in the park, you're gonna start pushing $5,500 just easily, or even $6,000. So it adds up a lot, and you can understand how people take out loans to go on a Disney trip. Stupid thing to do, in my opinion, but if that's the only thing you're paying on, then it isn't the end of the world, but it is expensive. So this recent outing, I looked up the same stuff and found prices went up a little bit. It was like $4,500 for relatively the same stuff. And we're not talking about a fancy hotel. We're talking about the cheapest garbage hotels in Disney that people say aren't the best. We're talking the plain Jane of room, 2 small beds and a bathroom. It's got a cool picture in it, but it is nothing fancy. They have nice places for $800 a night, and $8 and $8. There's $6,400 for your hotel and before fees and stuff. So that's a different story, but it's expensive to do it all in the Disney bubble thing, So I went and just did a generic search in the Googles and found a vacation place called Orlando Vacations. And I'm going to be honest with you, I pulled the trigger on it, and then I was worried, like, what if this is a scam? So I was nervous, but you can get your discount tickets for Disneyland there, and as well as Kennedy Space Center and Universal Studios. So they have a lot of other things on their website that you can purchase. And their website's a little out of date. It talks about mailing fees and that being $10 and express mailing. So things come through email. So that's a little misleading, and they know it is, but they're working on it, I guess. That's what they told me. The place we stayed at was a villa, and it was a 2-bedroom and 2 bathrooms, had a full kitchen, big living room, had a patio. It was 12 to 16 minutes away from the parks. It was across the street from the Disney bubble in one of their places. So it was close by. Could have very well taken public transportation. But since I was driving to Kennedy Space Center, I was going to go do that too. I just rented a car, and you can find decent prices for that as well. Renting a car in Orlando, what a pain. It took longer to rent a car than it did to buy the last car I purchased. I'll tell you that. It was unbelievable, but I'm not going to drag it down here. So, driving to the parks was not challenging. Even during the rush hour time, it was literally get on a highway and take the next exit, and then you're following around to whichever park you were going to. And so it was great. Parking is expensive at the parks. It's $20 or $25, I think. Standard parking. They ask you if you're staying at a Disney resort, and then I think it's either free or cheaper or something. I'm not really sure. And there are some big parking lots. So I warn you, when you've had enough and you want to leave, wherever you are in the park, you got to get to the gate. Well, no, of course. Well, then when you get to the gate, you still might have half, 3/4 of a mile to walk to your car. So, paid for premium parking or preferred parking, I think it was $45. And when you pay at one park, it's good for all parks. So if you do park hopping, then you can go to another park and you already paid for parking. So you got to figure in your parking expenses too. And this trip, it was 4 days at those parks, so that was $180 more in parking than I ended up paying for. So another expense to consider. So back up the train here. So when I did the research for this place, found 8 days, which was 7 nights over a weekend, and it was like $80-some a night for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, full kitchen room. Yeah, it was. I was shocked, and the pictures look great. Place looked nice, decent reviews. It was like, man, this is sketchy, whatever it is. Turned out okay. The place was great, actually. It was a very nice, comfortable place, clean, no issues, and like I mentioned, close by to the parks. So after discount Disney tickets, for which there were for 4 days, and park hopper tickets, which is added money for each day. You throw all that in there, and the hotel. Get ready for this. Price out the door, fees and all that junk, $2,300. Yeah, shocking. Half price, or at least $2,000 less than the Disney resorts. Add a car in there. I upgraded the car because when I'm driving, I like space and I don't like dinky cars. So mine was like $300 plus than the toll thing that I got, and had the fuel tank fill up thing. So it was like $4 something in total. So right there we're 23 for it's over $2,700, and that was with the fuel already. So yeah. $2,700, and the nearly $200 in parking, right? $3,000, and that's before airfare, which my airfare was zero because I had a bunch of miles and went first class too. So if I paid for that, it would have been expensive. Pardon me. So you're talking $3,000 for going to the park. Now, at the time of this recording, if you've never been to Disney World and you've heard about those park passes or Genie Plus things and stuff like that, you'll be paying more money for those things too. Lightning lanes, those things can be expensive. So you could have, if there's more than one person now, mind you, it's per person. Just an idea. Genie Plus, $20 per person in your group. If you have 4 people in your family and you get Genie Plus for 2 people, only 2 people get to use the Genie Plus. The other 2 have to use standard lines. They don't allow you to get away with that. Even if they're kids, by the way, you have to buy a Genie Plus for those 10-year-olds. The Lightning lanes are the same way. Not all Genie Pluses access are for all rides. Let me phrase that different. Not all rides are accessed by Genie Plus. And Genie Plus is kind of doing a virtual queue, I'll call it. They also have those things, so don't confuse this. It's kind of a preemptive standby. So they have time frames in which are available. Like if you were to look at, say, what's a good ride? Rise of the Resistance, which is in Galaxy's Edge, Hollywood Studios, Star Wars thing, right? If you see that Genie Plus has an availability, it always shows you the next availability on your phone for Genie Plus. You bought it, and it tells you it's at 10:10. So you go in there, book it for all the people in your group, and at 10:10, there you go. You're set to go. Well, you can't book another Genie Plus ride for 2 hours, or until you check into that ride. And I mean check in. As soon as you scan in, you can start booking your next one. So if your first Genie Plus ride isn't for like 3 hours, until 2 hours have passed since you booked it, you can't book one that might be available in the next 25 minutes for something else. What you're going to have to do is go modify that and book the next one you want to do, go over there, scan in, and then when you go back to do the other one again, it's going to change. So you got to kind of learn how to play that game. Now, if they have what they call individual Lightning Lane passes, those you can purchase in addition to Genie Plus. And some rides only have Lightning Lane and no Genie Plus. So if you wanted to get in a sure bet time frame, you have to buy the Lightning Lane, which again currently has kind of surge pricing things, so it can be as little as $15 a person, or as much as, I think somebody said the worst they saw was like 40. So that was for the Tron ride, I believe. So it can get pricey if you've got a group of people. If you were paid $100 and some to walk in the door, and now you're going to pay $100 for people to ride a ride at a certain time. Sometimes it's hard to swallow. But when you look at what you did pay to get in the door, and if you're willing to stand in an hour or in a line to ride a ride for almost 3 hours, well, then go ahead. You're going to miss out on doing a lot of other stuff you could be doing during that time. So the money you spent to get in the park is now kind of being scraped off of you. And, you might have to pitch in more money to, get in there and get your ride at a certain time. But at least you're accomplishing more that you've already paid for to do in the park, if that makes much sense. And trust me, they know how to work your wallet to get money out of you. So some rides like Tron, which is new, which I didn't even know was coming out until I was going to the park. So then I was like, oh, it's a brand new ride. Oh, cool. Oh boy, that thing only has virtual queue rides, and it's a fun ride. It's short, but it's fun, because rides at Disney World, if you've never been there, aren't just a ride. They're like an experience. Some of them are just rides, but the bigger ones and the newer ones, you kind of go through this experience of things before you actually get to the ride. Like Tron, you're going through getting zapped into the gaming grid, and then you're riding the ride. And you're going through this, I don't want to call it a maze, but this kind of the show on the way there. It's interesting. The Guardians of the Galaxies, you're getting beamed up to a ship, you're moving over to this other thing, and then you're riding the roller coaster. And, so it's a ride can take start to finish. Once you get like to the start of, what the entertainment is, it could take 10, 12, 15 minutes. The actual coaster might take 45 seconds, but you're going through this elaborate thing sometimes. And other things like what's a good example? There was one there, not the Himalayan mountain thing. I forget what it's called, but it's based on some Mount Everest thing and the Yetis and stuff like that. You're just walking through a fun line of artifacts and whatnot, and you get on the coaster, and the coaster is fun, and it's got some stuff going on in it. So, that's just a little bit longer coaster ride, and that's all that it is. But it's an older, ride, so it doesn't have all those other additives to it that some of the other fun ones do. Another example would be the Avatar one. It's a virtual reality ride, and you're going through getting your DNA tested and getting cleaned of any bacteria things, finding an avatar match, moving on to this a cloning stage or something like that before you get on the ride, and then ride the ride. Now, they're not taking your blood or anything. It's, just this, series of things you're going through and having air blown at you, and playing along with the scenario. So at any rate, so there was the cost. I kind of jumping off the page here a bit. All in costs out of my pocket, even with my airfare fees, not counting parking at the airport, which is another couple $100. You don't have to do that. I mean, I'm kind of spoiled with that. I've traveled a lot, and I just park at the airport, get it over with. Yeah, it pisses me off. They think you're buying a parking place there. You just want to park your car for a bit, but boy, they're expensive. I'm just around $3,200 for travel expenses, and my goodness, that was even before the Kennedy ticket. So we're probably about $3,400. Yeah. I also booked building a lightsaber and building a droid in Galaxy's Edge, which the lightsaber is about $250. The droid's $130, $120, something like that. So now there's a big chunk of money. You're talking, what is that, $380, almost $400 just for those two toys. And that's before buying some of the other knickknacks I bought there, which was totaling a couple $100. And there's some stuff you can blow $100 and some on one other item too. That's just right there that are little toys. So at least the lightsaber I got to build my own, and the droid I got to build my own. So those little toys are kind of fun. But so now there's another almost $400 on the bill, and that's before like I said, food and other little things that I buy there. And so you can see how it keeps adding up, and how it is an expensive trip, but it is fun. And you got to really take your time and know how to do it. The experience now I'll talk about that I had is I knocked out the things that I wanted to do right away. Day one, Hollywood Studios, Galaxy's Edge, built my saber, my droid right away. And you can leave the park and go back in. There's no issues with doing that. The great thing about the hotel being close, this is where I think the last couple of days kind of started figuring this business out. I got sick on this trip too, but I still, I persevered. I pushed through it. Luckily, I had a couple of days off that I intended to have off, so I was able to recover fine, and things were cool. But that aside, it was still a good time. So went to Galaxy's Edge in Hollywood Studios. Got there, got in, rode the Rise of the Resistance, did a couple other things, built my droid, built the lightsaber, dropped it off, came back, rode the Millennium Falcon ride. It's like a Smuggler's Run or something like that. The lightsaber build, by the way, is in Savvy's workshop, and the droid depot is where you build the droid. Visited some other shops, sat and watched some stuff, people going by. It's just fun to sit in that area. If you're into Star Wars, it is cool to walk around, see a lot of stuff. You got to go on the little nook and crannies, all the little aisles and walkways, because you're going to see things everywhere. Rode another ride or two over there. I really don't remember what they were called, but it was a good time. Then went around to the other aspects of Hollywood Studios and rode some other rides in there, and they were all fun. And the first day, you're walking around back and forth, stand in line, rush over here, get over there. You get tired, and after a Minnesota winter, you're absorbing that Florida heat and humidity, and it wears you down a little bit. So you got to prepare for stuff like that too. People have talked about, if you're going to go walking in Disney World, for 3-4 weeks, if you can, start taking walks at home to prepare for that kind of walking. And it's a good idea. I work out every day, so it's not that I could have used more walking, but day one, knocked out about 12 to 14,000 steps. Day number 2 was roughly the same. Then I was ill, 2 days off, went to Space Kennedy, second day recovery. That was another 10 to 12,000 steps. Day 3 in the park, I think we capped that at about 14,000. Maybe 18,000. And then the last day was like 24,000. We'll get to the double deal there. So first day, didn't use park hopping. Was like, all right, worn out. Definitely get the fun stuff done. Could have park hopped, but just didn't have it in me. Had dinner at the hotel, and showered up, got ready for the next day, and went to sleep. Got up the next day, started again. The next day, went to Epcot. Now, Epcot has got some construction currently. It's not like they always have that. Well, maybe they kind of do, I guess. There's always stuff going on in the park there. So, but Epcot had a lot of construction. And so the rides there are a little bit more limited anyway. There's not as many of them. It's more like a lot of stuff to see. So, the Guardians of the Galaxy ride was there, which is really cool and fun. You launch backwards on that coaster, which is a different experience. So a lot of their coasters, by the way, are in the dark. Some pitch black, some mostly dark. You hardly see anything, and that's kind of the deal there. Not all of them. I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of them are like that. So be prepared for a lot of dark coaster rides if you're into the coasters. Went on the test track, sponsored by Chevrolet, so you build your own. Here's another example of an experience you go through. When you go to the test track, they line you up, and you're like, geez, there's a big crowd going in here. What's this going to take? Well, then you go into this room, and you'll have a computer. You scan in your little Magic Pass, which we had cards. You don't have to get the bands, by the way. You can use your phones, but if that becomes unreliable, you're kind of trapped. So just get a card. It's free, and it works better. Test track. So you walk in there and it gives you 6 minutes, maybe 4, to build your car. And you build the car, pick the color and the engine, the width, the length, the shape of it. If it's a truck, the tires. I mean, you pick all this fun stuff, and now it's kind of assigned to you. And the only weird thing about that is all right, whatever the hell that was for. Well, when you go on the ride, and it does the test track stuff that it does. It's kind of a fancy looking coaster with a car on it. It shows you how well your car performed in those little skills on the boards at the end. So it's kind of neat. And you're with, at least one other group, maybe 2, that also built cars. So 2 or 3 cars will be listed in there, and you can see whose car performed better. Well, then at the end of it, your picture is taken at some point. And at the end, you can see you in your car, as well as I think the picture they take is of the test track car, which is some generic roller coaster car. So the one you actually get to take with you is of the actual coaster, not of you in your car. But when you go through the rest of the stuff, you can take pictures of you in the car that you made, or the car in the picture and stuff like that, through all the little kiosk they have set up for you there. So there's other reasons why this car is kind of with you, and I guess part of your experience. One other thing about the Genie Plus thing I talked about, if you buy Genie Plus, all those pictures are free. Once you go to the end of the ride, you see your picture, and then the little tapping thing, you just tap the one where your picture is. If you tap anybody's picture, you'll get anybody's picture. But if you tap where, follow the line from the screen to the little tap thing, tap it there, it'll show up on your phone. It's your picture. You'll be able to download it. It's yours there. Now, when you're walking around places like the Magic Kingdom and whatnot, have them take a picture of you in front of the castle business. That will show up on your phone, but it'll have print all over it. Those you have to pay for. But you can kind of see your picture there a little bit. So, but you can take your own picture. So, yeah, that's that. Day 2 at Epcot. Did what I wanted to do there, and decided, park hop. Went to Magic Kingdom, because Magic Kingdom is one of I would say the bigger parks, and there's a lot to do there. And back up, just getting there is a journey, because where you park isn't even close to the park. You park your car, you take a tram to the park, or you can take the ferry across the lake to the park. You are not in walking distance of the park at that point. So, as an example from Epcot, you can take a train over to the parking and then transfer to the train that goes to Magic Kingdom. So, did that. I went into Magic Kingdom, rode a few things, extended the day, and so yeah, it was a good time going through there. You got some stuff done because being it's a bigger park, if you go there one day, you will be there all day, cranky by the end of the day, because you're tired. And there's a lot of patience required in Disney World. So if you got more than one day, I'd go to that park more than once, just to not be pressured to at least ride the things you want to ride once. So yeah, it was a good idea to do that. Well, that was the night I got sick, so it didn't cut it short for that. Just when we were leaving there, now we have to take a train to the train station, transfer to take a train back to Epcot, walk to the car, and drive to the hotel. I was not doing well, but got through it. Took the next day off. Drove to Kennedy Space Center next day. Was able to take that nice and calm and take my time through there, and it was good. So come the next day, and now we're talking about a Monday, and you can do some research on this. The best days to go to what parks. You can use that as an advisory tool, but if you got to do what you got to do, you got to do what you got to do. Went to Animal Kingdom. Not really something I was all that excited to go for, because I don't care about zoos. Animals, the heck, when they're cool and they're fun to see, whatever, but they're just not, it's not exciting to me, so I don't care. However, I will say I had more unexpected fun than I thought I was going to have. So went ahead and rode the little truck thing that they drive you through all the animals, which was cool to see some of them. The truck driver, I don't remember the name of the ride, like a safari thing or something. But the driver was very knowledgeable and very good humor, so it made it even more exciting or more entertaining. And got to see a lot of the animals that were there, and so that was cool. What is another one that's in there? Is it the Jungle Cruise? They look like they're driving the boat. They're motoring it forward or backwards. They're controlling it, but they're not really steering. They're staring at you, talking about stuff. And they do like these dumb dad jokes the whole time. Really funny. The gal that was driving our guide, because you're in a boat with a bunch of people. Our guide, she was really into it. So she made it very entertaining. A lot of fun. Let's see what else is in Animal Kingdom there. I believe that's the Avatar thing. The scenery there is incredible, and that's the one thing about Disney World that's impressive, is the effort they put in some of the scenery. I mean, if you have the capability of working your imagination to think about if you were on another world that actually looked this way, had chunks of rocks the sizes of mountains suspended in the air because of, I know they kind of fake like it's just floating their business, but if trees were that big, robust, and their root system was that strong, holding up chunks of the planet, that would just be amazing to see and experience. So yeah, it was cool to see all that. Whatever else was in the Animal Kingdom, top of my head, I can't remember a lot of stuff that was in there, but it was exciting to see a lot of stuff there. First place that I ate in a Disney park was there, and I don't remember the name of the place, but it was kind of an Asian themed place. And because I'm still recovering from being ill, I didn't venture out too much there, but I had like an Asian salad of some kind with chicken in it, and it was good. It was really good. And I asked about fried rice. I didn't really order it, but the dude brought it anyway, and then I realized I was paying for it, and it wasn't that good. Could have been just because recovering from an illness, but at the same time it was very salty, and I avoid salt like the plague because it makes me not feel very well. So all I tasted was salt. Beyond that, there was really no real flavor to it. It was terrible. $10 bowl of fried rice. Wasn't happy that I paid for that. But the cool thing is, as soon as ducked into that restaurant, it started raining. That day had some, scattered showers, thunderstorms, whatever it is. Florida, it's going to happen. So it started raining, and so be it, not the end of the world. Got done there and decided hit up Magic Kingdom again. Cruised over the Magic Kingdom, knocked out a few more things there, and then or did I skip that? I think I skipped that. Was going to. I went back to, that's what it was. Went to the hotel, lay down, and wait for the weather to pass, and then go to the Magic Kingdom. And then I was like, just too tired. The illness, recovering from that. Got cleaned up, ready for the last day, and that was a good idea. That's right. That's what I did. Went to the Magic Kingdom last day. Took the ferry boat ride, which was cool, and got in there and did some of the other cool rides. Some of the really great rides in there. Tron. Got to ride Tron twice, back to back. This is what happened. So, because they only have virtual queue, at 7 a.m., you don't even have to be at the park, but at 7 a.m. on the dot, you can open up the app and hit virtual queue. Now, everybody can do this. So, when you open it up and you start it, you might grab like a 9 o'clock time, which means from park open to that time has already been taken. By the time you finish it, it might have adjusted it to like 9:45. You get what you get. If you wait till like 7:05, you're going to be booking that virtual queue for like 9:30 at night, 10 o'clock at night, and if anything breaks down, you might get pushed right off the board. So you need to be up and ready to do this. Make sure your group is already verified in there. Because you can do that. You just can't set up the virtual queue. You can just do the stuff that it'll let you do before doing it. And right when your phone turns 7 o'clock, you can refresh it, or you can go into it after you've done all the other stuff, and then book your virtual queue. Then you'll know when you are going to be able to ride that ride. So here's the other fun part. Did that. Got a virtual queue for 1 o'clock. Yep. No. 1 o'clock or 12. One of the two. I don't remember. Got to the park. Decided. I think this is what. I think the virtual queue was for virtual queue was for 12 o'clock. And the lightning lane got to the park. Because you have to be at the park, and because you don't stay at a resort, you got to wait till the actual park opens for the regular dopes. And when that opened up, bought a lightning lane for 1 o'clock. Figured, hey, that'll work out fine instead. Well, then I remembered the last time I played with a virtual queue at like 9 o'clock at night for a ride, I think in Hollywood Studios, wasn't even there, but it let me know my virtual queue was coming up. I was like, oh, I didn't actually finish through it, but it kept it, and so I was like, I'm going to have the virtual queue as well. All right, great. Went at 12, got the virtual queue. By the time you got through the big long line, which took about 45 minutes, got through the experience. By the time I got done, 1 o'clock. Time for my lightning lane that I paid for. Back to back. It was fantastic. Went on some other rides. There was a few rides I didn't get to that I would have liked to have ride, but it is what it is. Had a 10:30 or 10:25 reservation at the Beast's Castle from Beauty and the Beast. That was a really good dining experience. The food was great. The venue was fun to be in. It's a nice little deal. The beast comes out several times, so you can get your picture of the beast who's greeting you as if you're part of his royal court kind of thing. They encourage you to walk around, take pictures of the other dining rooms that are in there, which I did. So yeah, that was great. Had this really big cinnamon roll before that. This was the issue. It's hard to schedule things sometimes. Got there right away at opening. You had to go all the way to the back of the park to get this cinnamon roll, which I am not kidding you. The size of this cinnamon roll was like one of those roasted chickens you get at Costco. It was that huge, massive. Didn't want to eat all that and then try to get an early lunch at like 10 o'clock in me. But by the time you get to the back of the park, you get through the line that people are lining up to get that thing, sit down and eat that thing. Oh man! By the time I got to my actual lunch that I, had, I couldn't eat all of it. I didn't, still recovering from the illness thing. I was feeling better, but I just don't want to push a bunch of food in me and overstuff myself, and then end up not feeling good for the whole day. So I couldn't eat all of my filet, which was really good meat. Yeah, that was a really good meal. It was a bummer I couldn't eat it all, but it was good. Then went on the Tron rides twice, and then I think a couple of other rides, and about 2 or 3. It was like, all right, I want to come here at night, so headed out. Went to the hotel, took a shower, got some clean clothes out, lay down, relaxed, and it was rain. The rain was starting to come anyway. So it worked out to plan that perfect. And then it was just a monsoon storm and was ending by like 7 o'clock, I think. So it got a little nicer about 6:30. Headed back over to the park. Took the tram back over. Went back to Magic Kingdom. That's where they do the fireworks. And went in and rode a couple of rides before the fireworks show. One was the Haunted Mansion, another one was It's a Small World, and there's another one, I think it was another roller coaster ride toward the back that I can't remember the name. It was like a mining one. It was really fun to ride. I think rode that one twice. But actually, with so many rides in there that we were at your ride, it's hard to remember them all, but it was a good time. It was a lot of fun. Then got to see the fireworks show. We were in the back of the castle, so we saw it in 2 places, which was over the castle and then behind the castle. So I was just standing in the middle, looking to the left, to the right, watching the fireworks go off. It was pretty amazing. Fun little side note, the Saturday I was in town was the night they had a fire, or the day they had a fire. I'm not really sure when it happened, but I wasn't at the park, so not sure how it affected anything. But got to see the Tron ride at night, which lights up very spectacularly. It's cool to see. Rode the Buzz Lightyear thing a couple of times because it's fun. You get to shoot stuff while you're going through the ride, so that's a good time. Rode the dinosaur thing. That was one thing. Rode in the Animal Kingdom. It was broke down most time. Ended up opening up. Got a slot. Went over there and got to ride through it. And that was cool. Kind of a flashback to the day prior. But yeah, rode a couple of more rides, I think, in the dark there. And it's cool to see that place in the dark. It is different. Castle lit up is nice. And finally, on the way out, had somebody take a picture in front of the castle. So that's the little photo passing I'd have to purchase. But I just wanted to have somebody officially take a picture. So did that. Purchased some stuff from the Tron store and, that was it. Headed on out to catch a plane the next day. If it wasn't so expensive, I'm a lot of caveats here. If it was not so expensive to go to the parks, I understand the hotel, I understand the car, I understand the airfare. So the travel aspect to get there and stay there, I get is expensive, and that's expected. But if it wasn't so expensive to go to the parks and to ride the things you wanted to ride and whatnot, I'd go there often because it is a fun park. It is clean always. Even the stuff that looks dirty on purpose, you can tell it's not dirty. It's just made to look that way, and it's clean. But the experience you have around all of these characters and all of the, themes of what's going on there is really fun to experience. I can't say there's anything like it. Where I'm at, I go to Valley Fair, and that's kind of a thrill ride park. It's about the coasters for me. Spinning things, no good. But it's fun to ride those rides because it's exhilarating. But as far as the theme for the ride itself, not that big of a deal. You're not really doing anything here. There, you're experiencing all this stuff to go on a ride. You know, the Pirates of the Caribbean, you're walking through this pirate kind of thing. The Avatar thing, the experience you're going through to ride the Avatar ride. The Tron thing, the same deal. It's just it's a different way to look at it to experience these rides. Did Goofy's Train? That impressed me right off the bat. That was the first ride I think that I rode in. Oh gosh, I don't know. Remember where that was? That could have been Magic Kingdom. I'm not really sure. I'd have to look it up. But other than the Star Wars things that I rode, which again impressive. You're in the Millennium Falcon. You really feel like you're in that ship for real, according to what you see in the movies. It's amazing how they did that. The AT-AT walkers in Ride of the Resistance that your little car goes around. It is incredible to see how big those things are in theory of what they would be in real life. Just the way they made them. It's amazing. But that Goofy thing, went in there, I'll tell you about it. They have you go into this little room, looks like you're in a little stand theater by a railing looking at a screen, and I'm like, this is what this is. What the hell is this? And when Goofy's coming through and his train explodes, they blind you a little with a little flash or something like that, or the room gets dark or something like that, and all of a sudden you see there's this big, roughly blown out hole in the wall where the screen is, like jagged edges, and you're like, when the screen was whole, you couldn't see those lines where that jagged hole was coming from in the wall. That was amazing on how they did that. And then when you're done going on the little Goofy train ride, on your way out, it looks like you're leaving through the exact same little stand-up theater and the exact same hole in the wall as when you went in, because they made the exit look just like the entrance. So you seem like it was one way in and one way out, but it wasn't. It's two different areas. So I was like, this is amazing. So even on the exits on some of the rides, it's still part of the experience. So yeah, that makes it so much. So there's so much fun involved with that, and that you get to see that. The kids having meltdowns. Oh my gosh, let me tell you. It is a place for children, really is. They try to make it so that kids can enjoy everything there just the same, but there are safety limitations. There just is. And it's not only for the park and their insurance, it's for the life of who's riding the rides. The tallest one I think I saw there, I want to say it was Tron. It was 48 inches, which is 4 feet. And my thoughts are, don't bring a kid there until they're tall enough to ride every ride they can, because otherwise you're going to get there and they're just going to be barely touching the top, and the people at the gate have to make a judgment call, and it's about their life being saved. So they're going to tell you no, and the kid's going to have a meltdown. The world is ending as far as they're concerned. You have to understand that for a child, no matter how you explain to them, they're just not big enough. They're never going to understand. Well, I can stand on my tiptoe. That's not what it's about. They just don't get it. And you understand, and you'll even disagree with it, but rules are rules, end of story. And their heart is broken, which, hey, it is what it is. But if you wait till they're old enough, no problem. And even the little kiddie rides as an adult are fun. So, they might have that little a-hole teenager in them, but they can still go on and have fun. They'll remember that. All right. I could go on with details about this trip for an extraordinarily long amount of time because I had a lot of fun. And it was exciting. And I will probably do it again in the future. One more ride I'll tell you about was the Guardians of the Galaxy. The experience on going into that one was much like the Goofy ride. You're all in this room and they're beaming you up, and Terry Crews is telling you stay in the middle of the room, and it's getting kind of bright, and all of a sudden this really bright flashlight, boom, and it gets completely pitch black. Just this, like a flashbulb, and then it's black. And then when the lights come back on, they're like, oh, we're getting the power back. The room is different. It is like you got beamed up to a ship, to another room. The entire room changes. And that's the little tricks that they do to make you feel like you're experiencing something that's not really happening. And I guess I appreciate that. Got to ride what was it, Mission Space or something like that. And there's two different ones there. There's the Earth cruise and there's the Mars cruise. And you got to watch out that Mars one, man. I rode that one. I don't do spinning very well, but I figured I'm enclosed because I did the Earth one first. And it's kind of a virtual reality ride. So, and then the other one, they warned you, 2.3 G's is what you pull, but they do it by centrifugal force. But I figured I was enclosed. I wouldn't really notice it, but I noticed that spinning right away, and I did not feel good immediately. And there's no getting off or stopping this thing, so you have to kind of suck this thing up until it's done, and you're in a confined space. It's hard to do. So, that one, I won't ride that one again. But, I mean, it was as cool as it could be experiencing the discomfort. But, yeah. Got to see, Spaceship Earth all lit up at night. Camera, you got to be close to it for good pictures, and unfortunately I wasn't. So, but that, it was a good time. I'm glad I was able to do that in my life at least once, and I look forward to the next time that perhaps I can take my boys and they'll have a good time. Take the grandkids, when they're older. Well, all right. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me. I know it's been kind of a long ramble here. If you visited Disney World, I hope your experiences were positive, and by all means leave comments about them, tips, tricks, ideas for people. Just trying to help people who may be thinking about visiting there, or if they were pressured or felt stressed, they didn't quite grasp what was going on. Definitely give the information out there. There's a YouTube channel called DFB Guide or something like that, Disney Food Blog. They do all stuff Disney. They'll talk about the best places to eat stuff and the food to get and all that fun stuff. And they also talk about how to manage things in Disney World and, the lightning lanes, the virtual queues, and Genie Plus. So they've got good information, but keep up to date on it because the older stuff isn't the same anymore. So, I found that to be a good resource to learn about how to experience Disney World. So, yeah. If you go, take your time, sit down, sit in the shade, relax, don't rush. It's supposed to be vacation, even though it is still a lot of work there. But it can be fun, and that's the point of it. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with those fine words, and comment if you'd like. Remember, I'm the only a-hole here, so don't be one. Be constructive, be considerate. Definitely positive information for helping people out on this particular topic. Even Kennedy Space Center. I didn't talk much about that here, so feel free. And Universal Studios, if you have data on that. I haven't done that yet, so we'll see what happens. Well, thank you for your time, folks. I really appreciate you listening to In the Real. Again, my name is Eric. Enjoy.